business that we need to conduct. So I don't want to not have the meeting tonight. That's why we did not cancel, because we have this and a work session. So among you all, you'll be electing somebody to be, to chair this meeting. So what we'll do first is take a roll call to make sure we have a quorum.
I gotta go.
Are we going to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
We'll do the pledge.
Yeah, do the pledge, yeah.
Okay.
That's right. We'll do the pledge first.
Okay.
Or we'll do the pledge first, then we'll do a roll call, make sure we have a quorum, and then move from there.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
so pledge of allegiance.
Thanks, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Hassler, Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderwoman Johnson. Here. Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Prince. Alderwoman Armbruster. Here.
Okay, so in lieu of the fact that we don't have the mayor or mayor pro tem, I would ask this board to have one of the board members make a motion on who they would like to run this meeting.
I'd like to make
I
a
make a
motion to
motion
make
for
Bob
Bob
Donovan the
Jokers.
president of the Aldermen. I make a
No.
motion for Bob.
I would second that.
There you go.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Aye.
You lost the vote.
You are our elected chairman for this meeting. You may not, you don't have to move, you can stay there, and just, yeah.
Well, you can't do once.
So, approval of the agenda would be the first item.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
We don't have to do anything, Bob.
Motion passes. I'll let him take over any moment, anytime you want to.
You're doing.
I don't know what to do, so.
Just follow this. This is your script.
All right, so
Oh,
we
it
have-
is? Okay.
So we have certification of election results to approve. So that takes a motion.
Make a motion to approve the election results.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, so now we take a break and swear in our elected members. Do you want everybody up here? Okay.
I do it all at
So,
once.
all right. So those that are elected,
Paybacks.
Yeah. You have no idea. You just started.
Okay, just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Gary
Bob
Smith,
Donovan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications prescribed by law
that I possess all the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of Alderman
for the office of Alderman
for the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri.
for the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Missouri.
and the state of Missouri,
The provisions of all laws of the state of Missouri
the provisions of all laws of the state of Missouri
affecting cities of the fourth class.
affecting cities of the fourth class,
And the ordinances of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri.
and the ordinances of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri.
And I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderman
I will faithfully demean myself in the office of Alderman
of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri,
of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri,
for which I was appointed on the second day of June,
for which I was appointed on the second day of June,
2020.
2020.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so since you don't have the full board, I don't know if you want to elect a mayor pro tem from this group, or if you want to wait until you have all of your members here.
I think we just stick with Bob. What do you think, Buck? I'd like to make a motion to make Bob the mayor pro tem.
I would second that.
So a motion and a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, correct. All right,
Oh, paybacks.
so we have another roll call, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderwoman Johnson. Here. Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Jokers.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Prince. Alderwoman Armbruster. Here. Okay, we have another quorum.
I need to start checking this off. I'm not following it right. All right, so an appointment of the city clerk, it's a yearly item, I believe.
2 years.
2 years? Okay, 2-year item.
You need a motion for that, yes?
Yes.
I make a motion that
Please.
we retain and have Pam as the city clerk.
Second.
Who seconded?
Second.
Jeff, okay. All those, any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, or any opposed, nay? Motion passes. Next up is the appointment of the police chief. Same thing. Looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. There.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? And it passes. All right. So I jumped ahead and got the election of the president pro tem, so don't have to do that.
Congratulations, Bob.
Paybacks.
All right, presentation of awards. Do we have anything? No? Okay. We do have a personal appearance. Our auditor's here, and to give a update or report out the audit that we've had done. We have the podium right up there. I believe everybody received that back in January or February? February, okay.
In my file.
I know you've all read it closely, so. Tammy, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Tammy Alsop. I'm the partner on the audit. I know this is really late and I'm really sorry, but COVID just came in and took over, so I'm really sorry about that. But we did get it all issued on time, right? We sent it where it was supposed to go on time, so that's the main part, right? So I just want to talk a little bit about the report because I know this is September 30 year end and it's already June, and I'm sure a lot of things have happened during that time. First, we have the independent auditor's report, and the city received an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, so that's a very good opinion on the financial statements, and you'll notice that's over on page 2. Where it's under opinions, where it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective modified cash basis financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city as of September 30, 2019. And the respective changes in modified cash basis financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting described in note A3. So still, that's an unmodified opinion. That's a very good opinion on your financial statements. Then if you go over to page 4, that starts the management discussion and analysis. This is a short synopsis of what actually happened in the city during the year. So if you want just a short synopsis, if you look at page 4 through 10, that'll give you a real short information about it. First, it will talk about the government-wide financial statements. So it'll talk about the city like it's on a like it's a business. So it'll put everything besides just the water and sewer. It'll put everything on your assets for the governmental funds. So it'll put all your assets on there, it'll put all your debt on there. Because we're modified cash basis, it will not have receivables or payables on there except for the long-term debt, and it will only have the capital assets on there. So on a government-wide basis, the assets of the city exceeded its liabilities for the most recent fiscal year by $19.9 million. The city had unrestricted net position of $4.7 million. At the close of the current fiscal year, the city's governmental funds, and this is what you're used to seeing, reported an ending fund balance of $4 million. So that's all your governmental funds. That does not include the water and sewer funds. That's just your special revenue funds, your general fund, and your debt service funds. And at the end of the current fiscal year, unassigned fund balance for the general fund was $1 million. And again, that's on the regular modified cash basis, so that is not the government-wide number. That's really the fund number for the general fund. On page 6, you have a a short synopsis of a condensed version of the statement of net position. Again, this is on the government-wide basis, so you're going to see those capital assets out there and that long-term debt. So you'll see, as of September 30, 2019, the total government had total assets of $24.8 million. And in 2018, they had $23.6 million. Then in liabilities, they had $4.9 million compared to 2018 of $4.6 million. So that left a net position of $19.9 million in the current year compared to $19 million in the prior year. Then on page 7, this shows your revenues and expenses, again, on the government-wide basis. It kind of breaks them out differently. It shows your charges for services up at the top. Then it shows your operating grants, your capital grants, and then your general revenues, which are property taxes and sales taxes, and those revenues actually take care of all your other expenses that your charges for services do not take care of. So you'll see you had, the total government had total revenues in 2018, $5.5 million compared to 2019 of $6 million. And then you had expenses of $5 million in 2018 and about $5.1 in 2019. So your expenses are remaining relatively stable, which is good. And your revenue is increasing, so that's good. I don't know what's going to happen this year, so we'll wait and see about that. But the rest of the information talks about your capital assets and then your long-term debt. So if you go over to page 11, that actually gives you the, it breaks out the statement of net position for you, and it shows you everything that's included in that. And then it actually then breaks out on page 12, the statement of activities. And then if you look at page 13, that actually gives you the balance sheet for your governmental funds. And again, this is your general fund, your special revenue fund, your debt service fund. It does not include your water and sewer funds. Okay? So this is where I was talking about before. If you look down at the bottom in your total governmental funds, you had total fund balances of $4 million for your governmental funds. A lot of this is committed, of course, because you have, or restricted because you have a lot for transportation, debt service, and then you have a committed amount for capital projects. So then the unassigned amount, normally what you see is just the general fund, which has $1 million in it, in the unassigned fund balance. Then on 14, it gives you a reconciliation between the fund statements and the government-wide statements. So you would take the fund balance of your fund statements, you would add the capital assets, subtract the long-term liabilities to come back to your statement of net position or your government-wide statement. Then on page 15, this gives you the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds again. So this shows your revenue for all your general fund and all your special revenue funds. So here you have taxes, of course, makes up your largest revenues, and you had $2.8 million in taxes. And total revenues for the year, you had $3.3 million, and of that, the general fund brought in $2 million. Then in expenditures, you had $3.7 million, and most of this, again, was spent for the general fund, which is $2 million. So you had a total change in fund balance of $59,000, and that's total fund balance. And then the general had a positive change of $250,000 in fund balance. And then on the next page, it gives you another reconciliation between the revenues, statement of revenues, expenditures, and fund balances compared to the statement of activity on the government-wide basis. Then on page 17, you have the proprietary funds. This is your water and sewer fund. These are business-type activities. So you will see the capital assets and the long-term debt already on these statements. So you have, for your business-type activities, you had total assets of $2.1 million. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. total assets of 12.7 million. The 2.1 is just the current assets. Then you had total liabilities of 3.5 million, and you had a net position of 9 million, and this is your water and sewer funds. Then on page 18, you have your revenues, expenses, and your non-operating revenues. And then you'll notice down at the bottom, we had capital contributions this year in the water fund, $217,000 of capital contributions. So you had a positive change in your enterprise funds of $238,000. On page 19 is the statement of cash flows for these enterprise funds. This statement actually shows you how'd your money come in during the year and what did you spend it on. So you get money from receipts from customers and users. So you received $2.3 million of receipts. Then you paid suppliers $1.5 million. You paid employees $99,000. Then you were able to purchase capital assets of $853,000. And then you paid down some of your debt. And then you did have proceeds from the issuance of debt. And then you also had investment income in there. So you actually had an increase in total enterprise funds, cash and cash equivalents of $365,000. And then on page 20 starts the notes to the financial statements. The first note is note A, is a summary of significant accounting policies. These haven't changed from the prior year. Now with the policies that you're probably going to get here in a little while from Sue and everything that they're working on, this note will get a little bit longer, but that's okay. We want to tell everybody what we're doing, what we're investing in, you know, how we're doing these policies. So that note, like I said, it might get a little bit longer, but it's not a problem at all. I'm sorry, I missed one. I always like to say on page 26, the cash and investments, you have to have, your cash and investments have to either be secured or collateralized if they're over FDIC, the FDIC limit of $250,000. And as of September 30, 2019, they were entirely secured or collateralized with securities held by the city or by its agent in the city's name. So that's good, and you always want to look for that. I mean, I know probably the banks aren't going to go under, but I don't know. There was a time when some of them went under. Now I'm saying how old I am, but you know when some of those banks went under, savings and loans, I guess they went under, but we like to have those collateralized, and that's why. On page 28 is your capital assets. This is just more detailed information of the capital assets between the governmental funds and then the business type funds. On page 30 starts your long-term debt. So this gives you all the long-term debt, what it's supposed to be used for, or excuse me, what it is used for. And it gives you then the maturity values on page 32. Then on page 33 starts your pension note on your loggers. And I know this is a long note, it just keeps going, but the thing I like to look at is over on page 36. You have your total net pension liability, and it's $3.7 million. This is as of June 30, 2019, because that's when they do their actuarial report, the loggers. So, and then you had planned fiduciary net position, which means the assets allocated to St. Genevieve of $4.3 million. So that means you actually had a net pension asset, not liability, of $548,000. And hopefully with this, I like to see the asset in there, because hopefully then it will, oh, we got a word spelled wrong. Sorry. Hopefully then this will lower than your rate. And you would know it comes around every 6 months, I think. Is that right? They have to tell you 6 months ahead of time what the rate is going to be. And hopefully, I'm still hoping the investments are going to still do good this year by June 30. You just don't know. But I like to see that as a net pension asset, because then hopefully you can reduce your rates then. Because right now, your rates are, and they're over on page, let's see, on page 34 where it says contributions. Right now, the rates are 8% for the general fund and 2.1% 1% for the police. And the city does not contribute anything. I mean, the city contributes, I'm sorry, let me back up. The city contributes that amount and the members contribute 4%. Okay. Let's see. Now this one, we have a subsequent event of the sale of the property to sell the Troutman Industrial Court of $1.1 million, which was settled in October 2019, so that's good. There's really nothing else in the notes. Everything else looked really good. On page 40 starts the budget to actual. Everything I thought looked really, really good there. I mean, you adjust your budget like you're supposed to. There's no problems. I didn't see any problems there. There's also additional pages back here where it shows the combining schedules or what's in other non-major governmental funds, because you have your smaller funds in them. You have your tourism tax, your park fund, your band fund, which I understand the band director's here. So, and then you have the special road fund and some TIF funds, and then the debt service. So shows you some of that information. And this is the first year I actually got to work with the city of St. Genevieve, and I was really happy to work with the city of St. Genevieve. I really liked it. Hopefully they learned from us like we learned from them. We learn from everybody, you know, when we come out, because nobody does things exactly the same way, and that's fine. That's fine. And we always like to help them, and so that's very good. And we did recommend that they get some policies, and I know the policies, Sue's emailed me the policies, so we're looking through them to try to get those to you, and then you can hopefully look at them and have those to be approved. Does anybody have any questions for me, or? Sure.
Just one, and this board and previous boards has always struggled with the fact of what is enough in reserve. And I was just wondering, in general, is there something that you've seen as far as a normal?
I think the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers, has recommended between 15 and 17% of expenditures. And I think it's 17% is what you had in this policy, wasn't it?
Yes.
Is that what you had?
That's what we're
Kind of.
looking at.
That's what you're looking at. You know, but your city being so small might not be able to do that. So you might have to lower that target, because that target might not be achievable. So, you know, it might be 2 months. I have a city that has 50%, but I mean, that's a city that has no debt, no nothing. So, I mean, wish we could all be there, right? But, you know, it's really kind of what you feel is comfortable. You know, 3 months of expenditures.
You know, it's just hard to realize in all the state regulations and stuff that there isn't a number that says you have to be, you know, here and stuff, even though I know that's hard to attain, but just, we've discussed it many times, what's, you know, where should we be? And I was just wondering, in the auditing world, if you've seen somewhat of a standard.
The standards, like I said, the GFOA recommends is between 15 and 17% of your expenditures. And a lot of them say operating expenditures, not capital. So they would make sure and take the capital expenditures out of that calculation, because they want to know operating. They, you know, because they think, well, capital, you could do, or you don't have to maybe do your capital. So that's why they don't always put the capital expenditures in there, and they say operating expenditures. So what do you have to actually have to operate? Right. Because that's probably what you needed just these past few months, just operations, just paying the people, right. Just keeping it going status quo, not building roads or something like that. So that's why they look at operating versus, and take the capital out of the equation. So,
Thank you.
but that's mainly what they recommend.
Right.
Anything else? No? Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to thank everybody here that helped us with the audit. I really appreciate everything they did, and I know I keep calling Pam Kim, but I don't know why, she just looks like a Kim. I don't know why I want to call her Kim all the time, but sorry about that.
That's okay.
But
I forgive you.
but I do appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this year. I'm hoping everything's gonna be good for this year too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We got 3 years with you, right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Is it 5?
5 years?
Well,
It's really renewable.
4 left.
Right.
well, I mean, too, it's canceled by either
Right.
party. You know, it's not that you have to go with us, you know. I'd like to stay with you. I mean, I really enjoy doing the audit. I appreciate it. So I liked working with everybody down here. I think everybody did a really good job.
Especially
It
Kim.
does a really good job. Especially Kim.
Good.
I really like working with Kim, yes.
Thank you,
Sorry
ma'am.
about that, Pam.
Really appreciate it.
We'll take it.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to
Oh.
put something on her head or something. I just-
Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim.
Yeah, there you go. We'll make her mad. There you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, the Muni Band president is here, Jimmie Donze. He's next.
Oh, Jimmie.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jimmie Donze. I'm president of St. Genevieve Municipal Band. The band board met last Thursday, and we have decided to cancel the band season for the simple fact of the COVID-19, and the biggest reason is that the schools won't let us in for rehearsal. So, with that being said, the German band will still do some Saturdays in St. Genevieve. Roger Martin, the vice president of the band, he's been talking to Mary Elise. She mentioned something about the riverboats coming here twice, and the German band playing for them. We're still planning for the Christmas festival, because we don't know if that's been canceled or not. And we have thrown around some ideas about maybe in September and October doing a muni band concert. We don't know yet. We'd like to see how the COVID-19 thing goes. And then we also threw out the idea of maybe hiring some bands to play in our stead this summer in the schoolyard. The only thing we haven't done yet was talk to the Father Nemeth at the Catholic Church to see if we could get permission to do that. Every year we ask the schools for permission to rehearse and to perform our concerts on the Valley Desert. We realize that the money is supposed to be used for free entertainment, free music. So what we had thrown out as some ideas of what to do with monies that have been used is for next year we'd like to double our grant program funds. Instead of having $6,500 for the grant program, being all the festivals have been canceled, we'd like to make it $13,000. That way, maybe the smaller organizations, we could give them more money so they wouldn't have such a big expenditure on music. There's some things that the Muni Band would like to do for maintenance issues. We had bought a trailer a few years back, and we still need to get some items on that trailer painted. So we'd like to get that done this year. We would like to upgrade some of our sound equipment because it's going on 12 to 15 years old. We'd like to update it and keep up with the times and maybe get a better trade-in deal on what we have already.
Talking about electronics or?
Yeah, we're talking
Not the
soundboard.
instrument?
No. We're talking the soundboard, some extra microphones, things of that nature.
Mhm.
Another thing we would like to do is we would like to replace the door on our storeroom. Our storeroom down
Yeah.
here, we would like to replace that door with a steel door
Is that the one
at the bottom of the
Landing there?
steps, yeah.
at the bottom of it?
Well, at the bottom of the first landing.
First, yeah.
We'd like to replace that door, put a steel door there, because anybody with any kind of muscle could really open up that door. And we're talking about cleaning it out and getting it reorganized, so we'd like to buy some hooks to hang some things on and that kind of stuff. And then whatever we would have left over, we would throw into the CD that exists. The Muni Band has that CD, I'm sure you're all aware about. No?
I was.
Yeah, there is a CD that the band has, and whatever's left over, we like to put into that CD and save for a later date. When we met last week and decided to cancel the season, my first thought was, okay, well, let's take the money and hire Sammy Hagar and let everybody in St. Genevieve come for free, and we can charge everybody that lives outside of the city limits to pay. And we could probably book every hotel room from Festus to Cape Girardeau.
Mhm.
But I kind of got shot down on that idea, so. But anyway, that's what we would like to do with the money, being as we're not gonna be playing this summer. We'd like to take care of some maintenance issues, double the grant fund for next year. And like I said, we're still planning on the Christmas concert and the Christmas parade and that stuff, and the Saturdays in St. Gen, because the German band is able to be more sociable distant than the Muni Band, than the 70-member band can be.
How many members are
The German band has anywhere from 12 to 15, and the Muni Band itself, the big band, is 70.
Right.
We like to hold that at 70. Sometimes we don't hit 70, sometimes we're between it, we're anywhere between 65 and 70 most years. And that's all I have.
Refresh my memory what we contribute to the band.
This year, according to the budget, it was $42,750.
And how much of that do you anticipate spending on
We
upgrading and?
really didn't figure, we kind of threw out some numbers. The Saturdays in St. Gen, if we do 4, it's around $2,400. The Christmas parade and the concert is around $5,500. And that's just for those 2 items. Any more?
Like the electronic stuff, that's probably gonna be pricey, right?
I didn't go ahead and get bids for it. We usually deal with Shivelbeins because we have an account with them, and I haven't talked to them yet. We haven't talked to anybody about getting the trailer painted or getting any sound equipment. I wanted to bring it before you guys, see what you guys thought, get some feedback, and go from there.
There's no issue with using those funds for.
As long as it's for their purpose,
Right.
but we would have to work with, and Jimmie and I would need to get together and talk about what he estimates his costs are gonna be for maintenance and for the equipment, because we'll have to follow our purchasing policies, since we are the ones that oversee the money. And then, the cost of the door and all that, and then we can figure that out. I think what he's looking for, though, is I'm not sure what in the budget process you approved, but it was probably just the concerts for this fiscal year.
Correct.
So what you're doing is looking to change either, we spend some of that we have for this fiscal year and then budget for, new stuff for next fiscal year. We include you don't have to buy the sound equipment immediately, it sounds like. That
No,
could be-
no,
that
because
could
we
be
wouldn't need it
after
again
October 1st.
until next summer.
Yeah. So it would just be up to the board on how you want us to.
Would this be a
oversee this.
would this be a situation where you and Jimmie could work together and come back another meeting and explain the breakout of what you want to spend it on? So that we can-
Yes, and
Because it would just
I
make-
would do that.
Jimmie, it
I-
would just make it easier for us to put the stamp on it and.
Right,
and I'll get-
right, and I understand that, yeah, I don't have an issue with that, that's what I
And we
was
don't have an issue
planning
with you
on
spending it on what
doing
you're talking
anyway.
about. I'm
This
sorry.
was just an
You know,
informal way of telling you of what we had planned for the year and why we're canceling the summer season, and what we would like to do with the money.
Perfect.
The one thing, barring all, things that could happen and our tax revenue falls off of the charts and stuff and say we're down 10%, can we negotiate then? Because it would be a little tough to see the minivan add into a CD when we're short on tax revenue or our income and stuff. That's the only.
The only thing about that money, Bob, is that it's supposed to be
That's
used
right.
for
You're
free
right.
music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
property tax, right?
Yes.
Yes, and as I understand it, as long as it's used for the muni band, you're good to go. So all I think we're looking for is a breakout on the expenditures that you're looking to do, and we should be good to go.
And I think the CD you look at as,
Yeah.
if you have some that's left over, you're not going to use it, then that's where it would be good.
Right.
And I like that you're considering expanding the grant program next year, because a lot of those organizations
Will be-
took
Yeah,
a big hit this year with
we
not having
understand that,
events.
like the French Heritage Festival, them groups, they don't have a whole lot of money to work with, so we'd like to help them out a little bit more, versus some of the other organizations that we get that ask for money from the grant program.
And I suppose there's no way I can talk you into looking into a tent, so I can get out of the car and actually, maybe under the tent, shade. No way.
Well, we start at 8 in the evening, so the sun's usually down by
It's 8 in the
then.
evening in Missouri, though.
I can bring you a fan and plug it into the electric.
I was trying to move you towards the pavilion. I'm trying to get you there.
Well, I can bring mine down if you want.
All right.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'll get together, bring something back.
Yeah,
Break it
like I
down.
said, let me get some numbers together, and I will get back with Happy, and we will sit down and talk about it, and then I'll present it back to the board again.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Good enough?
Good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to my reports. A few items I want to cover. Item number one, the bicentennial quilt. It's going to kick off its statewide tour here, starting tomorrow, and it's here through June 23rd. So there's a special event just for the person that did the sewing of the patch that's on there. That's from 6 to 7, but there is a public, welcoming from 7 to 8, Friday night. So you probably see it tomorrow if you want to, during the day. It'll be there 9 to 5 as Welcome Center's open, or if you want to stop by Friday night from 7 to 8. There aren't any refreshments, isn't any food, it's just come in if you want to look at it outside of daytime hours.
And it'll be on display just during normal Welcome Center hours.
Right,
for
right.
June 23rd.
Yep. The City Hall Committee met, established some priorities. Want to make sure the basement stays dry. This is outside of our pools that are down there. We looked at safety issues with electric, trying to get the police side done. It gave me a chance to sit down and talk with Steve Bacon and kind of get caught up as to what happened prior to that, putting that all together and the sequence of events. So I had a chance to get with him, try to establish some of these priorities, but I feel like if we want to move forward as a committee, then we need to meet with him again, kind of establish again what we've talked about, and I've talked to him about, but we're going to have to look at those plans again, because we had also talked about some changes at the committee meeting that would need to be redrafted into that plan, and I need to get with the chief and see if we can rearrange some of his office requests. So if the board is willing, we can just extend the contract with Steve, because he has not completed his contract fully. We could just extend it, and then we're looking at probably another $1,500, a limit of $1,500, excuse me, a limit of $1,500 on that, that we can sit down, discuss, look at trying to arrange things, have his electrical and plumbing folks come in, give us some estimates, and look at what the problems are, so that we know going into it what we can do. Try to phase the construction, but we'll bring that back as a contract. Or, no, I'm sorry, I can look at that. It's under the amount that I would need to bring back to the board, but if you're more comfortable to bring it back as a contract, I can do that at the next meeting. But I just need to know how you want to move forward with Mr. Bacon on this. I mean, if you want to move forward with the city hall, that's what we need to, in my opinion, that's how we need to move forward with it.
You're saying for $1,500, we come back to him with our plans for modifications to the existing drawing set?
So what we would do is, it'd be a few sit-downs. It would be me and the chief to look at what he's drawn up for the police department. He needs to sit down with the committee again to say, here's the items that you're looking at changing. But we also need to bring in some of his experts to look at what needs to be, it's gonna have to be modified that may not have been looked at the first time. Because it's been brought to my attention, there's problems with electric in the basement and in the ceiling.
Right.
So let's look at that, find out what those problems are, so we can make sure we include that with all of our issues that are in the building that we need to have corrected.
What I'm unclear on though is, for $1,500, is that a deliverable that he brings back?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So he brings back a fresh drawing?
It would be an updated drawing.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so we have a basis, we have a foundation to start with, so to speak. I mean, we have a good set of drawings. I think they're complete, but they're incomplete as to the changes that we now want to look at, that we talked about in the committee.
Didn't we not pay him in full for the set of drawings that he delivered?
He did say that. We could also just extend that or just pay that part of the contract, but that was for another part of that contract, or the end of that contract, and to get us into the bidding part of it. I'm sorry, after the bidding part of it, to get into the approval part of it.
So they'll make sure I'm not wrong, but what I think we're saying is that there's a drawing set, and that based on changes in court system, changes in space allocation, whatever, want to shuffle some things around, so we want to pitch that to him. So an extra $1,500 buys the revision.
Right, so it's an extra $1,500 over.
That's my
Right.
understanding.
Right.
And Mike, weren't you on the committee?
Yes.
Who else is on that committee as alderman?
Well, right now, it's the three of us, Jeff and Sue and I.
And have you had a chance to take a look, have the blueprints changed at all? Has anything changed?
No, I mean, we
But
sat
they
down
will.
last week.
We sat down last
And
week.
talked about things,
Okay.
and I know we needed to talk to Eric some, because there were some things we talked about that
We
probably
would like to
now
change
change
them.
And
now.
then you can bring those back before we spend any money on it, to show to the rest of us? Or you?
I mean, yeah, this is basically,
That's it, that's
for
what you.
$1,500, we're
Okay.
gonna try and do this work and assess the electric and set priorities.
Okay.
But after that, yeah, we'd come back to the full board with, this is how we'd like to proceed.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, because we need to look at it as a phase project anyway, because I don't think we can spend it all in 1 year. The estimates were pretty close together that were brought in the first time, of around 380,000. So I don't think the city wants to spend that much in 1 year on that
I like
project.
the idea of dividing it amongst 3 years, 4, if we have to, whatever.
And I'd like to have three of you to maybe think about bringing something forward at our next meeting with the blueprints about how Prop P can help fund this. I think we can actually use
Sure
them.
it can.
Well, the law enforcement side of it could possibly, but you'd have to
I'd like
pull it
that.
out.
Could you look into that for us? And can you guys appeal?
I don't know that we can look into that in 2 weeks.
Oh, sure you can. I have nothing but confidence. I'd like
Well-
to just, can we do it? By next.
So if the request is to look into it and develop a proposal, I mean,
The $1,500,
Yeah.
can we use the Prop P money for that? Can
For
we
the
cover this
$1,500, no, you're not,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the.
I am talking about-
the
I am.
end project.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I'd like to get my arms around what we can use as far as that source.
yeah, I mean, I think we can investigate anything.
Beautiful. Thank you,
But I
sir.
think that's probably a little further down the road. First, we need to figure out what we wanna do, and how much it's gonna cost, and how we wanna tackle it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree with Sue.
Okay, I just wanted to put a bug in your ear, plant that thought. Okay.
Yeah.
And Steve did say there was some money that was left from that original contract, but I think this is the best way to proceed from this point on,
Okay. Thank you.
or not.
I don't think 1,500 is unreasonable for the modifications and getting this rolling again.
I concur.
Bob, do you have history that, like, I'm not looking at your, you think we've left money on the table that, and I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, we need to look at the original drawings and see, I thought that was a finalized set of drawings that he gave us, and we paid him for those.
I think at that stage of the
At that
project,
point,
it
if
would
they
have been
weren't.
considered fine.
But
But it
now
was
they're,
considerably over budget, so things were looking at changing.
So there's some modifications that were talked about in the committee that would change where a hallway goes, where some bathrooms would go, break room, that kind of stuff.
No municipal court things.
And that all's jettisoned, yeah.
so the plan's gotta change.
Right.
Or we scrap the plan, and I don't think any of us on the committee think we should scrap the plan. We think
I
we
was
should
just
modify the plan.
just trying to come up with where was the $1,500? Have we paid him already, or have we not paid him already? Because
The
he gave us a
1,500 is
contract.
for modifications
Right.
that we
This is
wanna
a
make
change
now.
order.
Yeah.
Since it's a change order, so
Yes.
we'd have to,
That makes sense to me now. Thank
we have
you.
an option to buy the change order or not buy the change order.
Right. I was just confused when Happy made the comment that there was some money left in the original contract. That's what you said, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we have not spent that, but we're looking at, because I want to have him look a little closer at stuff, that increases that cost a little bit. And we may not spend all the way up to 1,500. If we can get things done pretty easily and quickly, we may be able to draft it pretty easily, and then we don't have to spend that much.
And that's your agreement with him, it's not to exceed?
Yes.
It's 1,500 or less?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that clear as mud?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Board requested that we bring back a payment arrangement ordinance for overdue water bills. We talked about that at the last meeting. We were worried about COVID-19, other issues that would require payment arrangements. We did not find any ordinances that any city had that we talked to. We didn't go to every city in the state, but we went to the cities that we trust and we know. Our opinion is that we stay with the current way that we do things. We do it administratively, instead of coming up with something specific, if you're all good with that.
Yes, sir.
Sales tax report from the state came in, and the results were fairly good. We lagged about 0.5% from last year for our general sales, transportation, capital improvement taxes. It was a good number, because we thought 5% was probably, we were gonna be lucky if we didn't drop more than 5%. So that number looked good. I will say the utilities, though, Sue and I were looking at it, utilities for gas were much lower than anticipated. We're off probably 50% at this point. So that was about 22,000 is where we are, 23,000 when we should, I think we were looking at a budget of about 68,000. So we're gonna be way behind, because now we're in the summer months, so gas is used much less. And we sat and tried to figure out why, and our feeling is that the schools, since the schools didn't meet, they're running their furnaces all the time. That was where we're gonna be, that's where we missed a lot of that late winter, spring, early spring usage. So that's gonna hurt us a little bit, but the general sales tax numbers were good. So I think we're in good shape to start allowing those departments that need to get some items to get those items that we've been putting off. We'll still be judicious in how we spend it, but we've got some things we need to start working on. And that's all I have on my report. Any questions? Okay,
Thank you, sir.
moving on. Mr. Bova.
Good evening, everyone.
David.
You got my report there. Just wanted to point out a few things under the historic preservation. We did receive the contract from the State Historic Preservation Office for the grant we were approved for pre-COVID. We weren't for sure that those funds would be allocated, and they have been. So we will look over that and probably submit that application tomorrow or Monday. Involves Happy and I, though I probably will move back the timetable a little bit since our timetable has been moved back. So we're probably looking at executing the events that grant pays for in summer or fall next year. Down to building code and code enforcement. I mean, the numbers are there regularly, but I wanted to point out that our building inspector, Mike Powell, he'd been talking to me for starting about a month ago about relocating him and his wife, and they do have a bid on their house, and so he has given notice, and we have put an ad in the paper for a new building inspector, so looking for a new building inspector. The ad is also on Facebook, so if you have anyone you know, please point them in my way or have them send their resume to Pam. Qualifications are listed. Experience in building trades or code enforcement preferred. 16 to 24 hours a week, flexible. So Mike is very flexible, certain days of the week, certain hours. There's no benefits involved, so does that kind of answer?
Fair enough, yes, sir.
Fair enough. Not a whole lot else there. We will have a planning and zoning meeting in July. And then you've got the property maintenance focus down there at the bottom. We're down to 12. All those 12 do have plans in place, but they're slow moving. Any questions?
Imagine then as far as weed ordinance or tall grass, whatever. Hasn't been too many.
I guess this will be my third summer, and it's probably been the best so far, knock on wood. And we've had a lot of rain, so not too bad.
People got more.
Mow your grass.
Everybody's at home.
Yeah, everybody's at home mowing.
13% of the
Yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Roth?
Oh, did it?
Good evening.
Good evening.
You got my report. Mowed and weeded. Repaired and filled some potholes. Did repairs and service on mowers, and then we mowed and weeded some more. Marked the brush site, fixed a drainage problem on Ridgeway. Cut up and removed a fallen tree on Main Street. Opened the restrooms and playground equipment, and cleaning and sanitizing on all sites. We did have a water leak on one set of bathrooms up by the big pavilion. Alliance ran a new water line for that yesterday, so we got them up and ready to get back open. Anything else?
You on schedule with that cleaning and sanitizing?
We're trying to do everything twice a day.
Oh, okay. Prioritize like the bathroom, right?
Yep.
Thanks for your work on Cedar also.
It's working great, isn't it?
Well, we don't know.
It's working great.
Yeah, you fixed it.
Happy, this is probably a question for you. That tree that fell on Main Street, since it was on private property, does the homeowner get a bill for that work that the city did?
Then we'll get a bill for the light that was damaged,
Okay, but not for the labor?
because everything was out in the right of way, so we needed to clear that for
Right.
traffic. I don't think we've ever billed anybody for.
Yes.
Have we?
We did there on, that was Joe's deal. I don't think
Oh,
it ever
on
got paid.
LeCompte,
What was it?
up on Washington and LeCompte, or Washington and Academy, I mean.
Yeah. I don't think we ever,
Never collected?
not that I heard.
I was just curious if we had any kind of a policy, if it was something,
Yeah,
Not
that,
that I know of.
okay.
Yeah.
do we need one?
We probably can come up with something, but yeah, we.
Because for them to have had that tree removed would have been extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't want to encourage people to let things go and then.
because it was
the city
pretty
doesn't
rotten,
take
wasn't
care
it?
of
Yeah, it was hollowed and rotted.
Just if we
Okay.
could maybe look into that and see
Okay.
if there's something we can do.
I agree.
Good point.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Garen.
Thank you.
Chief Steiger?
Good evening, everybody.
Evening,
Should have
Chief.
my report also. Been a pretty slow month again for us out at the firehouse. Our responses are down, which is a good thing. Been doing a lot of small projects around the firehouse. Most of our major projects are on hold because of budgetary holds, and we did get the Wholesome grant money for the technical rescue team and for the city fire department. Those bids should be finished by tomorrow, so I should be able to start doing some spending on that next week. That'll get us a turnout gear extractor, which washes our turnout gear, keeps it a little cleaner and safer for us, and then some rescue equipment for the technical rescue team. Also in the process now of setting up certifications. We do an annual certification on our pumps and some other things. With our aerial, we have to do an annual certification now, so I'm in the process of setting all that up right now. And it's good to have it certified that if anything happens, we can look back and say it was a certified piece of equipment and it helps protect the city.
Is there any cost to that?
Yeah. The pump test usually runs about $250 per truck. We will have to pump test 4. My initial cost estimates right now on aerial certification is about $1,000 to have it certified annually. That's the cheapest bid right now. The one that I was a little shocked by yesterday I got in mail was $1,900. So we're looking at the $1,000 one basically.
As long as it's certified.
Pardon me?
As long as it's certified, it don't
Yeah.
matter.
Yep. They all use a underwriter's specification and they give you a stamp saying it's been tested and certified.
So Chief, I was reading that that this could possibly be our last year for the Wholesome grant.
That is the plan that was presented from the county. It was like a 10-year program.
Right.
And this past year was officially the last year. I've heard some rumors that there may be some small funding come available, but I haven't heard anything officially. It's been pretty good to us. Since I've taken over, we've probably got about $60,000 or $70,000 for the equipment from that grant program.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Any other questions for the chief?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, committee reports. I think we can start with the park board, because they have a pretty good meeting.
Yeah, really good thing. They all have been so far with all this. So we met on Tuesday with Donze Park Planning again. This is a special meeting so that we can expedite the process of the planning to have it in time for grant season and maybe the tail end of the budgeting. But so we reviewed the survey results a little bit more in depth, which I sent out to all of you, and it was issued to the public through the Herald and the Parks new Facebook page. A lot of positive responses with sharing that as well. So from there, we discussed what amenities changes we wanted to include based on the survey results with the master planning. Our focus, first off, was for Pierre Marquette and getting the master plan established for that park first before we move on to the other parks and the planning for those. So after we've got a pretty good rough draft after talking about the amenities, and Nick Donze and Donze Park Planning are gonna go and draw up the master plan, map it out, come up with a few pages of a written report to include, and that'll be our master plan for Pierre Marquette. And that's expected, we're expected to have that in July, by the July meeting, we hope. So when I get that, I'll pass it along to all of you. But everything seems pretty positive so far. Let's see. And then other than that, we just briefly discussed recruiting board members. The ordinance allows for 9 members. We currently operate with 8. So there's 1 position open there. The ordinance also allows for 2 high school students, all city residents, to be appointed to the park board. And so we were discussing how we'd really like to get some younger folks involved in this, especially now that there's something to really get involved with. You know, there might be a couple high school students out there that are considering parks and recreation careers, and this would be an optimum time for them to feel it out and get involved.
Like FFA or something of that nature.
Yeah, anything, because some of the discussions with amenities to include would be more having an area for more nature and conservation type studies. There's a little bit of everything, something for everyone, but getting Missouri Fishing and Wildlife and conservation to come in and give us some ideas there and whatnot. So that, I mean, there's so many opportunities for the younger residents of the community to get involved here or gain some experience or knowledge or whatever. So those are kind of in discussions of what we've had.
Okay, anything else?
Have they upgraded the disc golf goals? Wasn't there some talk about doing that?
That's all done.
Oh, I thought there was something about that.
Yeah, the guys that play the disc golf are really great about adding to our parks on their own
Yeah,
fruition.
my son likes
One's too close to the pond for me.
it.
Practice
You
more.
gotta get that one that floats.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Would you mind if we had people from the high school, teachers with FFA contact you directly, or would you prefer them to contact the board?
The positions are.
For the students, I mean. I'm
Are
sorry.
yeah, both the board, the 9 board members and the 2 high school, would the high schoolers be voting members?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Because it just said in addition, they can be appointed to the board, so it.
But that's a
One-
mayoral appointment, right?
Huh?
That's a mayoral,
yeah.
so they'd need to
That'd be
contact
cool.
the mayor,
I'll
yeah.
have them contact the mayor then. I think it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
They could contact either somebody within the Parks Board or the mayor directly and get the conversations going.
If we could get some from Valley and from St. John, that would also help for the community service hours.
Yeah. Yeah,
Fantastic.
and.
Okay, good.
And there's a teacher from Valley that's on the park board, Mr. Zugabe, Coach Zugabe, so.
We need one from St. John.
yeah.
I think that Gary would make a perfect
I have
night.
proudly
Payback,
served on that
payback.
board in the past, and you're doing a
Have to.
fantastic job.
Well, and, right, and as a backup and stuff, Mike would be happy, I'm sure.
Next
Oh,
topic.
here we
Thank you,
go.
Ashley. Moving on.
I can't hear you, Bob. Hey, can we pause on one point that was just made, though, that, why would, if 2 high school members are appointed to the board, why would they be non-voting members?
Age?
And can we clear that up?
That's what I was wondering, because our meetings are open to the public. So we could have a whole room of high school students, so what is the difference of actually appointing them to the board if they're non-voting? And that's why I posed the question.
And why would there be a stipulation that they be of voting age? These
I
are
was
questions
just
that I
throwing-
don't
that's
know.
great.
Because there's nothing in the ordinance that stipulates the age either.
Right.
Well,
So
there
There wouldn't be a voting age, because it'd be high school students.
Right, but I'm saying, why would that requirement exist for a board? Like, I would like to see
I
them
love
be
where
able
you're
to
going.
vote.
I love where you're going with it, yes.
Yeah.
I would too.
Okay, to exclude them from voting, I think is
Thanks, Mike.
not a good idea. That's just my thing.
I agree, and a great responsibility.
Excluding them from voting, to me, seems like there's no point in having them, the mayor appoint them to the board.
Right.
If they were that interested, they'd be showing up to the meetings right now if they just wanted to sit and listen.
Yes, ma'am.
So it may just be I may be overinterpreting.
No,
So,
you're
okay,
fine,
yeah.
but if that's something that we need to clear up within the ordinance, I'd like to do that before we,
And Mark just took the bull by the horns and said he'll get back to us on
I'll look
that.
into it, I'll get back to you.
Great.
okay, great.
I just don't know the answer off the mark.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So I used to be the Alderman liaison. I want to give you some positive feedback to the board. I used to be on the board and I was the liaison for a while, and you have really been doing a great job out there. I have heard really good things about that board. So congratulations and keep it up.
There's a lot of momentum, everybody's in positive spirits, and it seems like we're actually making ground, we're not just throwing ideas out there, we're talking about how do we accomplish them. And we can't thank Donze Planning enough
Right.
for their services
Right.
and for,
Right, amazing.
so.
Well, the funding is there now too, where we didn't really have anything
Yeah,
across the board.
Yeah, it'll definitely be
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
all right.
We had this, we talked about City Hall, so City Hall Committee, unless you guys have anything else to add to that, I don't think we have any other committees that are active. All right, public comments. Anybody from the public that wants to speak? All right, moving on. Before we get into the consent agenda, one item I need to clarify for this group. Alderman Johnson pointed out this morning, we've been going back and forth on numbers today, and that is for Resolution 2020-28, and that is for the Tokyo Marine HCC, the property and casualty. So when I filled out the initial paperwork, looked at the total, it's like the same thing when I go through the line at Best Buy. When they say, do you want to buy anything extra, like an extra warranty, I always say no. So my first thought was there was a couple of items on there for terrorism. That's like, when you add stuff on there that isn't incorporated as part of the regular policy, it's like, I just can't, I don't want to spend the money. However, I did find out later that we've had terrorism through NPR, so it is something that we should add into that. I also talked to Greg Lottis about the cyber liability. We were going to reduce we kind of discussed whether we needed $5 million for that, like our overall excess, or if we could reduce that, and that would reduce our cost. And we talked about that, we reduced it from $5 to $3 million, but I didn't see it reflected in the cost, and I've been back and forth with Greg all day, and I as far as I know, the number that I have is the number that we would pay. So our original bid price was $83,786. With the amounts that we have in what I've submitted to you tonight, adding in the terrorism, our total is $83,787. So
that's a change from this amended packet, or the additional information you sent out.
it is the total that is in that packet if you add in the terrorism.
Okay, but not including cyber.
Cyber's in there. Cyber's included, but we didn't get a reduction from that 5 million to 3 million. I didn't see a reduction in our total.
I still don't see the cyber in this binder, though. Can you tell me exactly where it is?
No.
Okay.
You don't see it in here?
I don't.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I just want to make sure we're covered, because if it's not in the binder, that is concerning to me.
Yeah. And I've asked Lee to be here tonight because in case there were any questions, we still can hold it off till the next meeting.
Because I'd still like to go down to the 3 million and save $3,000. I don't know about anybody else. I think we ran kind of over last time and didn't really talk about it, but that was on this sheet that we were given last week, and I think that's worth discussing.
I think it's, I'm fine with that.
Reasonable? I agree.
'Cause
I mean, our coverage is gonna be public record, so if somebody does something to us, they're gonna know what our coverage is, so.
You know, I
Go where
might
you
address
want
that,
with
if it's okay.
Please.
Your cyber last year was 2 million. So now you're at 3 million this year, so just so you know, that's
And I think that'd be
be.
fine,
Yeah.
but we need to reflect that in here.
So we do have $3 million, as you know, down as of today, based on.
Right. But so there wasn't any particular savings then, because we had talked about 5.
Okay, I'll have to look into that, but it is the amount that's shown on the sheet.
Okay.
So I have to, you and Greg were talking about that, I'm not sure where that went.
So we went back and forth with Casey and trying to get it narrowed down. The reason I emailed it so we all had the same information, because I pulled out what we did for the presentation packet and that. And I think we just got lost in the afternoon traffic. So, that being said.
Per the request, am I understanding then that at the next meeting, we'll actually have hard copies to look at reflecting the 3 million and the cost reduction?
If we can get the more detailed information on that.
I think we need
send
them,
that out.
yeah, that'd be great. I think you're right. I think hard copies so we can see it, put our arms around it before we move forward.
I don't see it on.
No, I didn't either.
And this latest version you shared does not have the terrorism,
Right.
because it's still 83,204.
Should be down below that. There should be a couple.
The 171 and the 412,
Right,
okay.
right.
I just didn't do the math, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see it either.
And that's, again, that's like walking through the line saying you want that extra warranty.
Gotcha,
It's like,
okay,
no.
thank you.
Okay, so then, I guess we make a motion for the consent agenda, including all but Resolution 2020-28. Somebody wants to make a motion on that?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and approve the consent agenda with the understanding that we're going to take care of 2028.
2020.
2020, 28.
To
removing it.
To remove it, yes. And also, we're gonna have a discussion about it, yes, next meeting, right?
We'll bring it back the next meeting for approval. You should have the information about that insurance and the binding contract, all of that ahead of time, so you can
Perfect.
look at it, because we have to get it done.
Okay.
I hate putting it off a couple of weeks, because we need to start putting that information together and get it to the insurance company, because we've got a lot of stuff we have to account for, but.
Okay. Then my motion stands to approve the.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, consent agenda passes. All right, old business. Bill number 4364, second reading.
That means you, Rob. You can read it.
After reading.
Yes.
Oh, you want me to read it? Out loud, okay.
Oh.
Oh, we're gonna have Bob read it.
No, he's already.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Happy, all right.
That's right, Mayor reads. I'm sorry, I'm used to the city clerk reading.
I'm just playing with him.
An ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, vacating and discontinuing a portion of an unimproved alley in Rozier Addition. Again, the second reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Any more discussion? We have to, roll call.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster. Yes. 7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4364 now becomes ordinance 4286.
Bill number 4365, an ordinance approving a zoning change from an R1 single-family residential to a C1 general commercial district for 21454 Highway 32, second reading.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second, any more discussion? All those in favor say, I'm sorry, roll call.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4365 now becomes ordinance 4287.
All right, any other old business? Moving on to new business. Bill number 4366, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a right-of-way easement between the city of St. Genevieve and Citizens Electric Corporation. First reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. So this is for the cell tower at the park, getting the electric to the cell tower. Okay.
Do we do all those in favor?
I'm sorry. I'm just explaining.
I'm sorry.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right.
We're gonna be here, what?
Bill number 4367, an ordinance approving a bid proposal from Fleet's Equipment for the purchase of a Hustler Super Z 25 horsepower diesel 72-inch side discharge mower in an amount not to exceed $13,900.
Move approval.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? So we had a mower that went for a swim, and this is to replace it.
We have flotation on the new one.
I don't know if that's included, and we're limited to that amount, we can't put anything else on it,
Does insurance cover any of that?
We have submitted, and they've called and asked for information, so we're
I
hoping
did
that we
meet
get.
with, I did meet with the adjuster today.
We did, okay,
So he said we should know by the first part of next week.
okay, so yes, we're hoping that,
Great question, Susie.
yeah.
Ma'am.
All right, so what we do is, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Move for a second.
Motion for a second?
Yeah.
Second approved. Motion and second, do we just do a voice
All in
vote?
favor?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Passes. All right. Second reading. An ordinance approving a bid proposal from Fleet's Equipment for the purchase of a Hustler Super Z 25 horsepower diesel 72-inch side discharge mower in an amount not to exceed $13,900.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4367 now becomes ordinance 4288.
All right, thank
Can
you
we
all.
go get it tomorrow?
We'll order it as soon as possible.
Oh, they don't have it out there in stock?
About a week.
All right. Any other business to bring before the board?
Already making that?
Mayor and Board of Aldermen Communication, I don't think there's anything there. Motion to adjourn to go into work session.
Move to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Take 5 minutes again. The paperwork that I gave you. What they want to do is create, they'd like for the city to accept it as a street because they are looking to divest themselves of property that's down there. And you see 2 big buildings, and you've got 2 separate properties, and that's what they're looking to try to get rid of, the 2 properties. So you've got the long building on the north that's on its own property, and then the larger building to the south with some outbuildings. And they want to not have an issue in the future, where somebody can get to that one property. They don't have to come off the highway. They can come down that driveway, access the loading docks, which are on the back of that long building. They're not accessible from the street. And so there isn't an easement situation or an easement problem. They want the city to try to adopt that street. So that being said, we've got certain conditions that we follow. One is that it has to have the right size width as a right-of-way, which it does, 40 feet. It has to be a certain width, like any street that we would adopt, and it is 24 feet. So it kind of stops there as to what we have been able to determine meet our code. There are some issues with the street if we were to take it, and it would still have to go through planning and zoning for adoption by the city and then come to the board. What I was looking for is the board to say if you would even consider it, or if you think it's a non-starter. I don't want them to waste their time. I don't want them to waste money on an architect to come up. They needs to have some core drilling done. Does the city want to pay for the core drilling so that we can see if the depth of that road is proper? That way we know that there's enough base asphalt that it meets our specifications. That's what we don't know from looking at it from above. There's an area.
Cost, what's the cost on core drilling?
Core drilling, I'm figuring it's about $1,500 to $2,500.
That much?
Yeah. It depends on how big a core we want.
It's always been the city's, they can jump in here too. I mean, whenever we adopt a road from a private developer, it always has to meet our specs.
Correct. And that's what we're asking.
So if this doesn't meet our specs,
Then we don't adopt it.
So some of the things that they would have to do, one, is they would have to improve it to a cul-de-sac. And they understand that. So it doesn't just end like it does now. They have to actually make a road improvement. We would have to do the coring so we know what the base is, make sure that we know what the asphalt in the base is. They would have to move a sign. They'd have to patch a section that was removed when there was a water leak at the bathrooms. So those are some of the issues that have to be taken care of before we would even consider it.
Okay.
So yes, those are the things that we would do as a new subdivision, same kind of things. Yeah, we're looking at the same questions and issues that we have to look at for this.
So let me understand this for my own edification. You're saying then that they have to bring these up to our specs and they have to do all the repairs that we need them to before we adopt it?
Right.
So there would be no cost to the city to make repairs to this? Because when I first received this information, I was like, what the heck is the advantage of us if we have to make all these repairs? And I mean, that was a money pit as far as I was concerned, but if they have to do all the repairs prior to us adopting it, so make sure I'm clear because I'm ignorant on this, then we adopt it.
Right.
Okay.
But they want us to do the coring.
Right.
Pay for that.
They would like for us to pay for the corner.
They'll pay for everything else besides the $2,500 or so, was that what it was? 2,500 or was it 25,000 for coring? What is coring?
So you,
it's where they drill.
15 to 20.
drill a hole.
They sample.
They drill,
Right,
yeah.
they take a.
Oh,
Whole, big old hole.
Oh,
Holes all
okay.
drilled
Now, I heard
down.
15 to 25, so I'm thinking,
100.
I'm thinking 25, okay.
Yeah, go for the
What was
high.
what was the
So it's just
damage-
like when they do, I'm sorry?
Damage that has to be repaired from a bathroom? What bathroom?
So there's a shut-off valve on the north side of that road, had to be cut out, because we had to do a repair to the water line that went over to the bathrooms. Well, that area where the shut-off valve is, it's a curb stop, had to be repaired, so there was a section of road that was cut out.
And my other question is,
That's our problem, right?
It's a private drive.
this is all private right now.
We had to fix our
Oh,
bathroom.
we fixed it like we figured it's good enough.
Yeah.
And my question is, I guess I just want somebody to educate me on this. What is the advantage of the city maintaining this cul-de-sac for two privately held entities?
Well, I mean, if they sell the property to different people, they can get easements to have access into there.
Right,
I
but
mean,
then
it's
we're
not that
responsible for
restricting
maintaining
anybody.
this cul-de-sac that's gonna have semis running back and forth, heavy equipment running, so we're gonna have a lot of repairs.
Well, but there always has been semis running back and forth.
But it hasn't been our bill, is what
Right,
I'm saying.
yeah.
So what is the advantage to the city to have this cul-de-sac on our bill? I think we should leave it with the private entity.
You know, I'm just looking on an app I've got here of property, and that easement that they're talking about there, if these boundaries are accurate, really infringes on that park property.
We saw some stakes that have been set out there, and it's just on the other side of the fence, is where the right-of-way line or the property line would be next to the park.
So it's taking in the fence or outside the fence?
It's outside the fence, just outside. Their first, on their preliminary look, the first preliminary look, they thought the fence was actually on their property. But it looks like we did the proper thing, and somebody did do a survey, and the fence looks like it's on our property.
I'm not trying to be the
But
Grinch.
to be sure, we would still have to survey it again.
I understand, but my biggest conundrum is the fact that these are private entities with a private drive, and they want the city to maintain it for them.
I think it's fair to ask, what's the upside?
What's the
for us?
cost,
I
what's
think
the
that's-
benefit to us?
Okay, so
Well,
here,
we-
this is what I wanted them to explain.
Yeah.
We have looked at property that stretches from Valley Springs Park up to Valley Springs subdivision. There is an area that could be turned into parkland that they don't want to maintain. It's just kind of hanging out there from all of these subdivision lots that they've developed that doesn't have any use for those property owners. So you're looking at potentially taking some more park ground, and you can put a trail in between the park and the subdivision. One of the other issues, so there's a negative on this too, there is a detention basin that's up there. We have told them that we will not take that detention basin. We'd be happy to, we'll take the detention basin, but there will be some sort of subdivision association or agreement with all the property owners to pay for that detention basin to be mowed and maintained, because we do not need any more area to cut.
Is that the detention basin you're talking right in back of Eric Scott Letters?
Yeah.
Right, that basically when the river used to flood, it came all the way back up in there.
Yeah, okay.
It's not actually a detention basin, it was a flood area.
Yeah.
But it is levied around all of it.
But I
But
think part of that is a detention off of Eric Scott and National Line.
Yeah, well, our understanding is that it is acting as a detention basin
Yeah.
for some of the buildings, for those lots that are up there.
So I guess I'm a little concerned about, it feels like it's being phrased as almost a trade-off.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable with
And
that.
then but it would also, that kind of trade-off would pose a payment to residents of Valley Springs, is what you, well, for the mowing and stuff, to cover all that?
Not the Valley Springs residents, it would be for those businesses that are off of Troutman.
Oh,
They're the ones that
businesses,
have
that's what I
that.
misunderstood in our
Yeah,
previous
And that-
It's the
conversation.
businesses.
And something I want to make sure we're clear on, that is a possibility.
Yeah,
There's no one saying that they're going to give us the easement and everything else like that. But that's not concrete, right?
And it would be dedicated park ground is what it would be.
And I love park ground, but it's still a possibility. It's not firm. So we could go and adopt this, own it, have to pay for it, and then never get that parkland.
yeah. Well, and then there's also the, question of, does it even bring any value to connecting to the park, with where it is? It's back behind everything, so a lot of people these days want open air parks where people can see,
Yeah, it'd be a shaded trail, shaded type trail.
Huh?
And I
And
love,
then we would
and I
have
love
to,
shade
we would
trails.
want
that would
I
be
love
a
it.
fairly big expense to put in a trail, maintain a trail, maintain that whole section of property.
so is it both parcels on each side of Valley Springs branch?
I think it's just one parcel, isn't it, that kind of stretches from end to end? Wait,
It is, it's a
Maybe
one
not.
parcel, I mean, it is like a finger
Mm-hmm.
pointing in several directions. You'd
Somewhere
be
in
able
this
to
paper.
connect
I mean, I'm sorry.
Valley
Bob, right
Spring
here.
Park to Valley Spring subdivision and St. Jude
Oh.
subdivision, if work was done.
that's right, it does also connect to St. Jude, doesn't
It
it?
would connect to St. Jude and Valley Spring if it went full throttle, yes.
And again, if.
And Valley Springs already has a path to the Valley Springs Park through sidewalk. The entire way is sidewalked and lands on the park trail. So there's not a, I don't see a whole lot of benefit for
Is there
Valley.
a sidewalk along Eric Scott? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the sidewalk lands on the path in the park.
I mean, I'm all for if at some
Comes all the way
point
back up here and-
developing this into a park. It seems a little late in the game considering they're right now developing a master plan for the parks. I don't think we should consider that with this
No.
I don't see it as an
driveway
No.
cul-de-sac. I just don't think we can put the two in the same category because it feels a little.
And again,
like
as
a
a, as
trade-off.
a, as a city, I don't wanna get the habit of, I don't wanna get the business of taking care of other people's driveways.
Well, do we know why there are no-show tonight? Why they-
No, I'm not sure.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I mean, we provide roads to everyone.
But this is private property, Bob. I don't wanna get in the habit of, it's my personal opinion, and I can be outvoted, I'm only one of 8, but I am not comfortable with that.
I'm
I
not
mean-
comfortable with it costing the city anything, you know, if
And I
they
keep
wanna.
seeing these, I'm sorry, I
And it
keep
is
seeing
no
these
matter
eight,
what.
I keep seeing these 18-wheelers back and forth, and nobody else is using it besides these 18-wheelers. And every time it goes down, we have to fix it.
There's no doubt that Gary's future thinking about maintenance costs.
I
as
am
well.
big time
I-
thinking about these 18-wheelers. You know what they do to the roads?
Well, that's all in your design specs, which is by ordinance, that it's gotta be designed.
Yeah, but Gary, I'm telling you, brother, I have roads right now in Ward 1 that will break your teeth.
Oh, you ain't telling
So
me.
I
Yes, you
don't,
do.
I mean, my roads are horrible, and my residents shouldn't have to put up with that crap. I'm not comfortable taking another expense.
So, I can wait and talk to the Troutmans? just
I'd say no. I think we just decide right now we don't wanna do it, or yes. Do you guys want?
I'd like to hear from them.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah, I
they can
think
bring
we
back
owe
a
them that.
benefit list
think we owe
beyond
them
that
that.
park
Okay,
trail.
then a benefits list, yes, good idea. Tell us what the benefit is to us.
Well,
As a city.
you know, I know Save-A-Lot Drive, that's mostly what's buses and it's tractor trailers and I don't think it's in bad shape, do you, Gary? 'Cause it actually was accepted by, the city.
But that was built by a private developer and then accepted by
Right.
the city
Yeah,
to their specs.
Right,
Everything,
right.
right.
Which is what would happen.
but that's what
But
would
Save
have
a
to
Lot,
happen
but
here.
no, but Save a Lot has our constituents going to stores and things of that nature, utilizing that
Right,
same
yeah.
track. This is
Right.
just a private drive.
These are warehouses. The company I work for actually used to rent.
This
one
isn't
of
grandma
those.
getting her groceries.
But it is, but if those buildings are in use, it's gonna employ people.
Right.
That's great, but it's
Yeah,
private.
Right.
That's the whole idea of having a company, you know, they should be taking care
I,
of their
I
stuff.
agree with Gary in this case, and I also have to keep going back to why a no-show tonight. That's somewhat disrespectful if you're asking for this sort of consideration and that you can't come sell it to me. That's worrisome as well, I think.
And there may be something that came up, I don't know.
Sure, there could be, absolutely.
We'll find out.
I wouldn't mind hearing from them,
Yeah.
but right now where I stand is I have to hear some bigger benefits for our expense in the future.
And I'll take that back to him. I haven't have a problem with that at all.
I guess I could've called you.
Which is why I brought it to the board first, instead of trying to go through a process. I want to get this kind of feedback. So
Beautiful.
thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Question answered.
Okay, moving on to the alcoholic beverages chapter. You had a couple of questions. Those are in red. Can the alcohol limit at 9.9% listed for Jurtefit be changed? Yes. Why they stopped it at that, I don't know. Wine is usually 12 to 14%. If you would like for us to increase that to, say, 15%, that would cover just about anything except distilled spirits, which sometimes are, what, 25 to 30?
Oh.
So I don't think anybody really well,
I like where your head's at. So, but we don't, do we have a distiller in
Hey,
town?
what's in that coffee?
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
We don't have, we're not affected by a distillery in St. Genevieve, but we need to look out for their interest on that.
Well, and if that were the case, they would probably just stay on their property and
Right.
operate under their license. This
Right.
part wouldn't really affect them.
I don't see a problem with changing it
Yeah.
myself.
I don't see
I mean, there are distilleries in the county, yeah.
Right.
12%.
But,
I would say 15.
15%?
Yeah.
Yeah, get it up there.
That'll wake you up in the morning.
Well, if we're gonna go for a buzz, let's.
but then they're
go.
also, then if you up it though to include liquor, that would not just be for a distillery, that would be for anyone who wants to sell
Yeah.
That's my
Jack and
understanding.
Coke. And
Yeah.
then I might be a little concerned with the really hard alcohol,
You'd be
free
moving
flowing
a
on the.
full bar outside.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look at 15% as the increase, and we'll bring it back as part of the ordinance. The other question was mead and other types of alcohol. Do we need to have it included in our ordinance, and is it a microbrewery? Because you were asking about mead in particular. So, and these are both looked at by Mark, I just didn't have him stick around because he gave me a full answer in an email. So mead does not fit the microbrewery definition, but it is in state statute. So under home licensing, domestic winery, this license allows the manufacturing of wine or brandy in quantities not to exceed 500,000 gallons, not in excess of 18%. 18% alcohol by weight for wine, not in excess of 34% alcohol by weight for brandy. It includes honey, that's mead. So if we don't have to do anything special with this ordinance to include that, if somebody was thinking that mead was going to be was going to be processed in St. Genevieve. So we can just go with the state statute, license it as a liquor by the drink, all kinds, and then we're in good shape.
I like that recommendation.
Okay. So we will bring that back at the next board meeting for a first reading. All right, third up is the Washington Street wall replacement. Terry Todd from Cochran looked at this. You've got the report, kind of gives you some pictures of what the wall looks like. It is leaning into that fence now, and it's gonna push it over here soon. So the question is, moving forward to replace it, one of the things that Terry recommended is that we push it closer to the road, so we get it off of that property line and put it on our property, so we know it's ours, we maintain it. If you're gonna put in a wall. If you're gonna put in dirt, you're looking at coming down on a slope of no more than 3 to 1.
Good for you.
You know, I just noticed on this one picture and stuff, you've got 2 guy wires off of a major electric line, plus
Yes.
you've got some of these nice bushes there that's,
The bushes will be removed, and they will be saved.
Oh,
Be
thank
saved.
God.
We've talked to a neighbor, he called and volunteered to take the bushes and put them elsewhere. But yes, we do have electric in the way, that is going to be a problem, but it can be dealt with, it's just going to complicate it. That feeds the electric to the house that's just to the south of the house that's affected by the wall.
So I'm no engineer, but can somebody help educate me between the difference between just having just dirt and the wall? I mean, I know the wall's gonna be stronger and everything. So what is we can either do dirt or a wall, yes? Is that what I'm understanding?
Those are yes, you have 3 options that you can do. Now, if you do dirt, you have to get an easement from the property owner.
If we do-
She probably would give a construction easement, or temporary construction easement for a wall, but I'm not sure if she'll give an easement for all of that dirt to come down into her yard, because it will take up a portion of her.
And the wall
She doesn't want to pay for half.
She's not paying for anything, as I understand it, right? Is that what I'm saying? And so the
I like the
wall,
half deal.
would the wall be moved onto the city property, is what you're saying? It would be would the wall be moved toward the
Yeah, we will
road?
move it a little bit closer to the road.
And then then there'd be no consternation, there's no problem, she would know what's hers and what's ours at that point, okay. Because the expense of the wall may be worth it, just to make sure she knows what's hers and what's ours, because as I read it, she's not gonna help contribute. Did I miss something?
No.
Okay.
well, unless we stand our ground and say if you don't pay half.
Uh-oh, well,
I see that as not a fruitful argument. I think we're in that position plenty and we never win.
we sent that bill for that tree a while back?
Yeah.
$400.
I'd like to own it and construct the concrete wall.
I actually
Just own
agree,
it
I
and
actually agree
maintain
with
it.
you.
Are we gonna have to build the fence back?
That is not.
My opinion is no, but we would probably allow her to, again, have an elevated fence because of the adjacent property, because you're looking at 6 foot as your height that you can have in your yard. So if she keeps it at 6 foot off of the existing grade, then anybody on that street can look right into the yard. So we would probably still allow it to be elevated.
Happy, what about the street? I mean, that's got problems, and I feel like if we don't address what's going on with the street, well, why are we building the wall?
Wall, yeah, what's first, chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
We gotta get that wall, we gotta start moving on the wall, so then we can say, yes, let's start deciding what we're gonna do with that street.
Okay, so
I mean,
the wall is gonna be there, it's not gonna get damaged, or we're not gonna discover, oh, it should be 6 inches this way or that way, or
so those are our
slightly different.
discussions forward with the engineer.
Okay.
Here's what we wanna do, we wanna put in this type of wall, we also need to work on the street. What are your recommendations, how should we proceed? I'll let the experts kind of guide me on that.
I don't think.
Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
Gary. Yeah, the street's just a small dip in the street.
Okay, so when Terry looked at this, his opinion was that there is more going on underneath that street than what you see on the surface. So that it's going to be a larger patch than you imagine.
But that's a main artery right into the school, right, Buck? I mean, that's a biggie.
So what other utilities might be in that area? I mean, are we talking gas lines, water lines, sewer lines?
Gas line's not there, water, sewer is, but it's on the academy side. So
that's good.
we're probably good where we want to work.
So we wouldn't
It's all
need to
gotta be
mess with
located.
the forward fence or anything.
That's the property owners, because
Right.
that was
Right.
theirs to
Okay.
block the vision of those driving by on Washington.
That was about 3
So that wall is there.
We'll probably take the fence down.
Good.
We'll be careful with it, and then she can decide what she wants to do.
She doesn't want to contribute, take the fence down. So, I take that right down. I like the recommendation. I think this is fantastic. Anybody else?
How many other areas, do we have any other areas in town that we'd be setting a precedent?
You're asking me.
Gary?
Yeah.
The new guy.
I think it's just a matter of fixing our street mainly.
Well, that's what that was what I got from Martin, same thing, that the concern is that that street could fail, and it's
Yeah.
elevated.
Right.
And it's just the way that's been installed.
Gary couldn't get to work then or something?
So Cochran has said, we need something. Just fixing the street's not gonna do it. We've
Right.
gotta do either
Right.
the wall
To do it
or
right.
Well, they patched
the
it.
grading.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in combination. You know, we've looked at the wall to begin with, but when we looked at the street, we went, there's some other problems, because what Gary's done to try to solve some problems is patch it. Well, now we got water coming over the curb that's there.
Right.
So we've got to redo that to make sure that water gets where it's supposed to go. And we solidify what's underneath that road with a wall. So
Gary,
it
doesn't
doesn't.
that wall tie into her foundation?
No.
No.
It doesn't butt up
No,
to the
'cause
concrete in that?
there's a garage in there.
Yeah, it goes up to the garage, but it's in front of the garage driveway. She's got a deck that comes out the side. It goes past that, comes up to what would be it's not connected. It is,
So what's there, a gap between the wall and?
Where's the stormwater gonna go?
stormwater should stay on the street, turn the corner.
Create issues?
Well,
It's gonna go on down the hill.
Well, I know it's gonna go down towards her property.
Right into their driveway.
Well,
Mine.
It should really be no different than it is now. It's gonna run around this street.
Well, I know, but right now it's going in that depression there, but where, right
Can
by
Cochran weigh in on that?
her property.
yeah.
I mean, let's let an
You know what I
expert
mean?
weigh in on that, yeah.
But prior to that sinking, it still should have ran around the corner.
So if we move the wall further in towards the pavement and clearly establish it on our property, where is our property? Because I've asked that question a couple of times, especially without Chadwell Lane, when we were talking about that, and it's the width of the pavement only.
Oh, I think that property there, the wall is right on the line.
Well, but
What is that concern, though?
The bottom of the
What's making you think about that?
Well, it's, you know, if we only own the property of the width of the pavement, this wall is outside the width of the pavement, clearly.
I'm almost sure at a previous meeting, they said the property
Yeah.
line is
Right.
on the wall.
It's the right of way is larger than the street pavement.
There you go.
So-
You're establishing why are we concerned?
Right.
Well, it's, you know, I've asked Martin that numerous times in the
Sure.
past and stuff, and it was always the width of the pavement,
Yeah, but
You know,
it's not
when-
the same, not all of them are the same.
right?
Yeah.
So first thing we have to do is establish exactly where our property line is.
And we can do that, but that's gonna be an extra expense, so that's.
But how can you build a wall that you
I think it's already
don't?
been surveyed.
It has been surveyed.
This was a year ago.
We have
talked
the
about
survey,
this,
and
yeah.
they showed us that where it was, right? So this is just moving the wall to our line, I think.
So I can tell you why I'm
Yes,
around.
so it's all ours.
Let's own it. Let's own,
Yeah.
there's
Good
nothing
question,
better
Tom.
than owning a problem, because then you can fix a problem. If you have part ownership of a problem, that street's
Yeah.
never gonna be solid, because we're always gonna have to
Right.
mess with somebody who
Right.
doesn't
And if
wanna
the,
buy in with
and if
us.
the other partner doesn't want to contribute,
Exactly.
well, there you go.
Yeah, so we just
Just
buy
own
it,
it.
buy the problem and everything, and fix it and be done with it.
Yep.
So how are we gonna fix it? Dirt, block, or
Well,
concrete?
I wanted to ask you too, why did you go to dirt? Because I'm not with dirt, but
Cost.
just,
Yeah,
okay,
it's just
okay.
cost.
The dirt thing gonna involve the homeowner.
Yeah, dirt,
And I don't,
yeah.
I think, I agree with you. We need to own this.
Not
I'm also
just her.
concerned about
Well, I
the,
think the dirt you're gonna dump, I mean, you're not gonna easily be able to get rid of the runoff.
No.
water anywhere
Right.
Other than
Right.
on the property.
Yeah.
and then the block, it says a good choice, but over time tends to displace with settlement and root growth. So that's a
Absolutely.
big concern for me too.
Right.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's the most expensive option, but
Of
I really
course.
think the concrete wall is gonna be long-term our best option.
I agree with
I
you,
agree with
As long
that.
as we can fix the street.
unless Bob can sell me on dirt.
MoDOT uses them. So, no, just alternatives we have to look at.
Sure.
And it's good, good points.
Well, if we keep it on our property, we don't have to make a wall that's as big as that's there now. Right?
And we still need to put it back as is, because again, the way, it has to connect into her driveway, because that is, you know, that's the elevation that you're trying to tie into. So you have to go back to where she's got some yard does come back into her yard, and you need to tie back into that, again, because of elevation. So we're trying to maintain the elevation of that street
Right.
and the pressure that's
But
against
the
it.
concrete wall is what I'm saying.
Right.
If it's all on our property,
You mean not as tall?
right, it'd be,
Maybe,
no, it'd be tall as the crown of the street, I guess, right?
And as I understand it,
And then-
I'm sorry.
But if it's all on our property, then it's gonna be inside the existing wall,
Right.
right?
No, the existing wall's gonna come out to be able to do the
Right.
work.
the new wall buck will be right on our property line.
Oh, I don't know.
So it's the
I would-
$5,000.
Well, oh,
street.
you're right, you're right. And
The removal of improvement, the $5,000, that's taking the old wall out?
yeah. No, 5,000 is for the engineering.
engineers.
That's all it is engineering services. You're gonna have a cost that comes back
We
to
don't
the
need to
board to
put that back
approve
on there, do we?
for
That's a-
the,
So this is not the
fence
final
doesn't have to
cost
go
of
back up.
$27,000?
No, this thing goes out for
She
bid.
can't put it on our stuff.
we're hoping that's.
That's what
But
they,
that-
that's
is
what
on her
COG
property.
is thinking
That
it's
is her
gonna
property.
cost.
But I need,
Fences are on
I
her
need
property.
to have the board
So if we- when
approve
we move
me
it,
moving
it's up
forward
to
with
her whether
engineering
she wants to put it-
services.
right.
Because it needs to be drawn. I can't just say pour a concrete
Fence will
wall.
go on top of our walls, what I'm
No,
saying. Right.
because
So is that wall on our property?
It will be. It's the current wall
It's-
splits.
It's right
Yeah.
on the property
That's the whole
line,
debate,
so
man.
If
That-
it's 6 inches, you
Yeah.
got 3 inches here and 3 inches there.
That's the whole debate.
Bottom of our property, the tops,
Well, that's what I was saying, if we move it inside there where the bushes are, we
Yeah.
wouldn't even mess with that wall.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do that
No,
because
yeah,
there
you'd
wouldn't be
have to
enough
do
room to work. We need to take down the fence, take down the existing wall, and, you know, we'll have to get equipment in there.
And you got an electric line there.
And, yeah.
Right.
yeah, you got.
So the fence is on the
Aerial.
homeowner's property, correct?
Yeah, because it would be on this side of that wall, on her
So
side.
have her
what was the
take it down.
engineering portion?
I'm figuring about
We can have this
$5,000, a little less than
conversation with her. She's not gonna
5,000.
do anything.
Which is over and above these preliminary cost estimates.
Right.
Which also doesn't include removing the old wall.
Probably some of the removal of improvements. So on the concrete, item number 3 is where you remove what's existing. So that's part of your cost. So they're figuring about $5,000 to get rid of that
I
old
think
wall.
Cochran just gave us a window into what contractors might charge. They were pretty clear about these are only estimated figures and
Well said. Good conversations, but I
So it
I
could
love
be
the recommendation.
40,000 total? 35?
We have to go for bids, right?
Yeah, we gotta go for bids.
We have to go for bids.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be more than just the 27,000 to
Right.
fix the street.
Yeah.
When you include that into it,
Plus we got
Prepare for that.
50,000 now.
so that may, we'll have to look at what we have in the budget to be able to do that as part of what we're looking at here.
But you're signing up to buy a problem, buy a fix to it one time instead of revisit this thing every couple of years and then have frustration with a taxpayer.
That's what the last guy said when he poured that wall.
That's right.
But
You're right about
in
that.
addition to that factor, there's also the safety factor as well. I mean,
True.
this is, as I mentioned earlier, and by the way, this is not my ward, and I don't go this way to school, right, for the record. But it's a safety issue as well for our kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this could be a problem more so than just who owns what and how much is it gonna cost. And by the way, I am all about saving money.
Right.
But I think there's more to this. And
So if we just put a wall there, Gary, are we gonna have to put a railing on top of it? for
no, I don't think so, right? Would we have to have a
Well-
railing on it?
It depends on the distance that we have from the street. We'll see what that distance would be. If the adjacent grade is not more than 30 inches below, then you don't have to have a guardrail.
Right.
Yeah, so we would look at it from a building aspect of it. You may not have to go all the way up, but you'll have to go part of that
didn't
way
think
up.
about that.
And if
So
you
you're
have-
saying 30 inches off of grade of her yard?
It'd be 30 inches off the top of the wall to the edge of the pavement. If you were more than 30, it's like a deck. If you have more than 30 inches, then you have to have a guardrail.
That's
because
more than
of that.
30 inches.
I don't know if you're going to have, but I'm talking about,
That's the old wall. That's the old wall.
Yeah, but the old walls, or the new wall's gonna have to be as tall as the
Yeah.
old wall or
Right.
taller.
See,
It's probably taller.
Yeah.
right.
Gary,
that's right.
wouldn't that be right? The new wall would have to be as tall as the old wall or taller, because it crowns off
I
of
think
those
you're right.
bushes.
I think you're right. You are right, Bob. Okay.
Yeah, we just need to get all the costs,
Well, are you gonna let her put a fence on there like this?
No, we were just having this conversation. That won't be her property then. If she wants a
So,
fence, it'd be
okay.
on the inside, right?
so then
Yeah.
you're gonna have a gap between the fence.
So
and
you're
the
gonna
wall.
have a gap between the fence and the wall, say 5 inches.
Okay.
Gary gonna send somebody up there to weed eat that every week?
Pour some gravel on there.
So homeowners have to maintain out to the street. So they would, she would be responsible for the grass cutting.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think she's gonna put up a fence. I just don't think so.
Well, it sounds like there's a fairly long laundry list of things that she needs to know, so
Right.
she can make decisions.
Oh, that's a good point too.
So I mean,
Like some,
if she's interested in knowing that stuff, I would hope she would get to know that stuff.
I bet you're gonna have to put a railing on top there, because
I
if
think
it's
you're
over
right.
30 inches, it's over 30 inches now. I mean, I looked down there, but
so they're asking right now for tonight for a $5,000 to go out for all the information, then we can make an informed decision, right?
well, I think we have to, right.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. Because I get ahead of myself. I'm already thinking about railings and kids and grass between the fence and the wall.
5
Thanks,
inches with a
Jeff.
kid stuck down.
You're
in.
right, though. Hey.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was awesome. I didn't even think about it.
Have
So
to have
if
a-
I can get an engineering quote, I'll bring it back as a resolution to the board. You can approve that with the engineer, and then we can move forward with it.
Because once you see, I mean, are you talking about an engineering design where he gives us a plan that shows this wall has to be such a deep footing, such a thick wall, tall wall? Well, I would assume on that, he would put all the necessary requirements if we have to have,
Right.
Good thinking.
So we're all agreeing on the type.
Yes. I think,
Yeah, we have to.
And then we own that document, which becomes an RFP for X number of construction firms to bid on that work, right? Is that how we feel about that?
man, I love when you talk logistics and procurement.
There goes your remodel
RFQ, change orders.
And I did want to pause on one thing you said, Mr. President, that I have zero concern about this becoming a precedent set for every other person. I think it's a one-off situation to be considered by this board every single time.
Yep.
That's how I feel about that.
I agree.
So, not moving on it so we can ultimately fix our street and repair and maintain our street. For that reason, I'm not Bring it to the board, folks, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about it every time.
Every time, yeah.
Happy, at what point would it be appropriate for the city to start communicating with that property owner and,
I talk to her all the time.
okay, so you'll sort of inform her of what we're thinking about
I
and,
will, yeah.
thank you.
What we talked about, yeah.
With the 5-inch space that Chet talked about being a highlight of that conversation, because
Until we get some plans, I mean, she'll be involved in looking at what the plans are. I'm not gonna, sorry, we're just gonna get on your property, because I've gotta get a temporary construction easement from her so I can get on her property, because the equipment's gonna have to, it's gonna tear it up and then
Right.
put it back.
well, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna live with the 5-inch space that Jeff talks about for a long time, and lots of opportunity to be upset with our decision-making process there.
I don't know. I don't know until we get those
She may not put a
plans.
fence back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know until we see what those lines are, what's there.
If she wants a fence, does she need to get a permit for that fence?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, she does, okay.
So where's the other property owner, the one that's west of there? Is that gonna be an issue?
No, it does not go all the way to the property line. It stops probably 15, 20 feet short. So it's only that property.
And it,
Actually, I think there's an easement there.
I thought so too.
oh, drops down off to that alley for some reason.
Yeah,
I
I
bet you
thought
there
so
is.
too.
Yeah, that vent, or that wall stops short of that alley.
Yeah, and it's just a dirt paper all then. It looks dirt.
And then another takeaway, you'll consult with Cochran about drainage, any impact to stormwater.
They're aware of it because that's what we looked
Okay.
at when we were talking about it and some of the problems that we saw.
They should take everything into consideration.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to create another water problem is the last thing we need. Do not
So
need it.
she had filed a claim with the city
Exactly.
about her walls. They were spalding. She was blaming the city because of the water coming off the street. The insurance company has rejected it, so we'll see if it goes anywhere else.
Oh, in her house?
Yeah, in her basement walls, that she was seeing some issues in the basement floor. So,
Sorry.
That's a construction issue.
So she's gonna have to, whatever we agree to, she's gonna have to sign off on saying, this is what we're proposing, and this is where it's gonna be, and this is who's paying for it, and you have to accept it as.
If she doesn't want to do a construction easement, why would we do that?
we got, everybody's got issues. I know, I
Yeah.
don't
I'm
get
not sure
that,
what you mean
she's
by
not
she
that
has
type.
to agree.
Doesn't
She
seem
doesn't
that
have
type
to
of
agree to
person.
anything. I think we go to her with a proposal and
I'd take it or
ask.
leave it.
She wants a wall, yeah.
I think
Well,
so.
if we
Well,
partnered, then
it's-
we need an agreement. If we're
Right.
not, if we've agreed
Right.
to not partner, then we need to each move in our own
Right,
direction.
but we
and do-
still have to have access to her property during
Yeah.
this process.
Removal
I
of
bet
the
most of the work is gonna be done from the road though. I don't know.
Not all of it, no.
The things I learned so much from
Lot
this
of
job. I really do.
I'm not as familiar with the property as the two of you
Great,
are.
great.
Well,
So I'll
and-
take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Great meeting.